We talk a lot about generosity when times are tough, right? When there's a crisis. But what does it look like when everything is, well, going great? When giving feels less like a desperate need and more like just an option? It's a really interesting question. And today, we're going to dive into what it means to be generous, not just in a storm, but in the calm.
So there's this great old joke a pastor used to tell his congregation. And, it always gets a laugh, but it's also kind of uncomfortably true, isn't it? It just perfectly captures that tension between knowing we have the resources to do good and the very real challenge of actually, putting them to work.
And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. When our lives feel stable, when our communities seem strong, why on earth does generosity still matter so much? To figure that out, we've got to travel back in time, about 2,000 years, to a really powerful scene at a place the source material calls the magnificent crumbling temple. Now, you have to understand this temple, it wasn't just some beautiful building, it was the absolute center of life. It stood for security, for identity, for faith, all of it, literally set in stone and covered in gold. It was built to feel permanent. So picture this, everyone standing around, admiring this incredible, solid structure, and Jesus just drops this line. It's a total conversation killer, right? He's pretty much saying, yeah, it's nice, and it's all going to be destroyed. He wasn't trying to be a downer. He was just being honest about what he was seeing underneath the surface. And right there, that's the huge disconnect. See, on the one hand, everybody else saw this amazing symbol of strength and faith. They saw the beautiful stones, the gold. But on the other hand, Jesus saw what was really happening. He saw a loss of soul, a loss of purpose. He saw that the worship had become more about comfort than about compassion. The beautiful outside was just hiding a whole lot of decay on the inside. And look, this isn't just some dusty history lesson. This story is a direct warning about a very modern, very human challenge, the danger of comfort. Because here's the timeless truth of it. When we feel safe, when our money's good and our communities feel healthy, it is so easy to start coasting, to take our foot off the gas. We start to think that being actively faithful, well, it's not really required right now. It's kind of optional. The source material for this has this brilliant term for this whole state of being. I love this. It calls it the spiritual couch potato. It's that feeling of, I'll get around to it eventually. It just perfectly captures how comfort can so easily lead to complacency. And this is where we have to totally flip the script on what we think giving or stewardship is all about. It's not really about keeping an organization's lights on. It's about our own spiritual health. We give because we are the ones who need the practice. We need it to keep our hearts awake, to keep them grateful, and to keep them from getting stiff. And this just highlights the real threat we all face. It's almost never a loud, dramatic crisis that leads us off track. Nope. More often, it's that quiet, seductive whisper of comfort. The one that says, hey, you're fine. You've done enough. It's okay to just relax. So if comfort is the trap, what's the way out? What's the antidote? Well, our source offers a really powerful one, and it's all about reframing a familiar word. The idea is that true endurance, well, it isn't about standing still. When Jesus tells his followers this, by your endurance you will gain your souls, he completely flips our idea of what endurance even means. See, it's not just about gritting your teeth and waiting for a storm to pass. It's an active practice. It's something that actually builds and strengthens our very souls. So what does this active endurance really look like in practice? Well, it has a kind of rhythm. First up, stay awake. That means actively, intentionally practicing gratitude for what you have. Second, stay faithful. Keep loving and keep serving, especially when it doesn't feel required. And third, stay supple. Give consistently, not just when there's an emergency, because that's what keeps your heart from getting lazy. This is about building a muscle, not just hitting a panic button. And when we actually commit to this kind of rhythm, we're not just working on ourselves, we become part of something so much bigger. We are literally building something unshakable. Okay, so think about the contrast here for a second. Money that's just sitting in a bank account, what does it do? It earns a little bit of interest. That's it. Its impact is pretty limited. It's passive. But what about generosity that's actively poured into a community, into helping people? Oh, that stuff compounds. It creates this incredible ripple effect of growth that no financial advisor on the planet could ever measure. And in the real world, what does that compounding generosity actually look like? Well, a financial gift stops being just a number on a spreadsheet. It transforms. It becomes the music that lifts someone's spirit. It becomes a hot meal for a neighbor who needs it. It becomes that feeling of welcome that tells someone, for the first time maybe, hey, you belong here. It becomes real, tangible hope. This is what we're actually investing in. It's not a building. It's not a brand. It's what the book of Hebrews calls a kingdom that cannot be shaken. A living, breathing community of people who are held together by grace and by action. And this brings us right back to that magnificent, crumbling temple from the beginning. See, the whole point wasn't just that the stones would fall. The point was that something far greater, far more resilient was going to rise up in its place. The new temple. And this new temple, it's not made of stone at all. It's made of people. People committed to loving, to serving, and to enduring together.
So, in the end, the challenge here is for all of us, and it goes way beyond any building or budget. It's about how we choose to live, especially when life is good. And that leaves us with one last question to really think about. What unshakable things are you building?